Mike Allison, village clerk, village manager. In the absence of the mayor for the moment, is there a motion? First, let me establish a quorum, and why don't you call the roll?
President Byrne? Trustee Schultz?
Here.
Trustee Schwartz?
Here.
Trustee Williams?
Here.
Trustee Hebda?
Here.
Trustee Cook?
Here.
Trustee Marquardt?
Here.
Is there a motion to appoint a president pro tem?
Move to appoint Trustee Cook as President Pro Tem for the duration of the meeting or until the President makes his appearance.
Second.
I think we all did it.
We all did it at the same time.
Just pick one.
Just pick one.
President Byrne? Oh. Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Marquardt?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
All right. Slide over here.
It's your, some of yours I can pinch here.
Okay. Hey.
Don't talk.
Okay. Let me just. Hang on a second. Okay. Since we've been called to order and had our roll call, would everyone please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, are there any citizens who wish to address the board on something that's not on the committee of the whole? No? Okay, all right. Okay, then our first order of business under the village president's report is Project Turf, and we have representatives of District 128 here tonight. Want to come up?
Well, good evening to all of you, and thank you for having us this evening. My name is Prentice Lee, and I'm the superintendent at Community High School District 128. To my right is Dr. Ellen Swick, who you all know is the wonderful principal at Vernon Hills High School, and Brian McDonald, our great athletic director there. We were asked this evening to provide the trustees an update on the fundraising efforts of Project Turf and the district regarding putting an all-purpose field on the high school field. The project has bid out at $920,000, which would include all the drainage work and the back work that needs to be done for this type of field, plus replacement using a really high-quality turf surface for that multi-purpose facility. As you are aware, we've had a really active Project Turf group that was led by Village Vernon Hills resident and VHHS parent Dennis Donlin, who's just did an incredible job. You've been around the village, you've seen Dennis every place, and it seems like some nights, two places at one time. We're not quite sure how he did what he did, but we're supremely appreciative of his efforts on our behalf. Through the work of Project Turf, they have raised about $391,000. That includes donations from the Cougar Council, local businesses, families and individuals, some vending machine money over the years at Vernon Hills High School. The Cougar Athletic Boosters have donated $100,000. And of course, we're very appreciative of our intergovernmental agreement with the Vernon Hills Park District, who are also contributing $100,000 to the project. And in turn, they will be using the field on 24 Sundays, 12 in the fall and 12 in the spring, and then 4 Fridays in the summer for penultimate activities for the youth programs to give them an opportunity to work on the field. If you're doing your math as I'm speaking, that leaves us with a balance of around $229,000. Our initial plan, with an additional contribution of $300,000 from the Board of Education, that $300,000 is indicative of the capital expenditure we would have needed to make to replace the field, the natural grass on the field, to do the drainage as well as the turf. So with that thrown into the total, we are about $229,000 short in the project. So our plan to move the project forward with the board is to use cell tower revenue at Vernon Hills High School, which was originally designated by the district to use for site improvements over the course of the year. And in essence, the board will front that money for the project, and then we'll pay ourselves back with cell tower revenue as that's gained over the years. Jim Whittington, before Ellen, and Ellen have copiously saved and used that money judiciously, so we do have some resources there for an initial cost. Obviously, in conversation with Mayor Byrne, any contribution that the village would make to this project would be just so appreciated by the school district and Vernon Hills High School, and again, would have great community use for everyone in the village, the way that we have structured that. So with that, I'll ask Brian or Ellen if they have anything else to add, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, first, before we move on, I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of this board to congratulate Dr. Swick on receiving the award for from the Illinois Principals Association as Lakes Region High School Principal of the Year. So I think that's a very deserving honor, so congratulations. With that said, where are we at? Larry, maybe you can address.
Well, 2 weeks ago, we authorized encumbering $55,000 from the FY 11-12 budget and $45,000 from the FY 12-13 budget. We had done a fund search and found available funds in both budgets.
So bottom line is, we're ready to give them $100,000
Right.
from the village.
Right, we certainly have all the budgetary capacity and authority in place.
From this year's budget.
Well, from two. Yeah. Yeah,
We're
yeah.
celebrating, this is the new year.
It just dawned on me this is
Yeah.
Yeah, if I seem a little hungover, it's because it is New Year's Day. But we did.
It's a finance director's New Year's Day, yeah,
that's
okay.
right.
So what do we need to do at this point to move this forward?
Well,
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Do we have to put it on our next agenda?
I think if you concur, we should put something together, a resolution, and then talk about, we could talk to Prentice, talk about specifically how to disperse the money. Would you send it to them when they need it, or have it, project oriented, like if you get to a point where you've spent it all, so to speak, well, then we'll send our 100,000. We can talk about particulars. We don't have to do that tonight.
Well, and we can't approve it tonight because it wasn't on the agenda, but as soon as the paperwork's done, then we can, probably within 2 weeks, be able to approve it in that. Trustee Hebda.
I love our high school, of course, as you know, and I love what you've done, but I'm going to play devil's advocate just a little bit here in that what I've been hearing from some parents, if this $100,000 is going to come from this board, I want to make sure that every kid has a chance, if available, to use those fields or that playing field. What I've heard from parents is that unless you're a varsity player, if the field is not, and you're in soccer, and so the field is for the varsity kids, but let's say I'm a freshman, I don't make varsity soccer. Why can't, and I know you're scheduling, can you assure me that if a kid has a chance to play there, they're gonna get a chance to play there, whether they're a varsity player, or a freshman, or a JV, or whatever?
Yes.
Okay.
We're working through the particulars of the schedule.
And I understand, I understand the
Yeah.
schedule. I just want to make sure that this is for everybody. It's
Yeah,
not just for,
It will not be just the varsity teams that utilize the field. We're working through, for instance, in the spring here, we have, a boys and girls track program that need to use our stadium
Right.
for practice. We also have Hawthorne North and Hawthorne South that utilize our track for their
events, sure.
middle school track practices. So then, after that, then we're gonna be able to play the way we're laying it out, be able to play a sub-varsity game. So that usually will be the JV junior varsity team, and then followed by a varsity game. Usually a sub-varsity game starts at 6 o'clock, and then the varsity would play at 7. There will be times, Saturdays and other days where we're gonna swap out the freshmen and the JV. And get
Understand.
some freshman kids there.
I just want to be able to, that when these parents come up to me and say, hey, trustee Hebda, my kid can't play there, then I'm going to call you and say, what's going on, And I know with scheduling, but I just want to make sure that everyone is given a chance, because this is money from the village. We've always said we're going to do this for all of our residents. All these kids go there, so let's just make sure whatever we can do so that everyone has a chance to, if they are on that sport and they can play on that field, great. Then I want them to use it.
We're gonna do that.
And Cindy, I think the other thing that's really great here about use data, 2 years ago, we did some use data between the natural grass field at Vernon Hills and the turf stadium at Libertyville. And Vernon Hills was able to use that field about 35 times during the year. At Libertyville High School, there were 1,000 separate uses, which not only included all of the athletic teams, it included a marching band, because they have a marching band, and included physical education classes 8 periods a day.
Awesome.
So it truly becomes a multi-purpose
That's great.
facility, not just a
And that's what you want to see.
football
Yeah. I
stadium.
mean, if we're going to put the money in, then let's let
absolutely.
people use it for whatever.
Yes, and that's what's so
Good.
exciting about it, and then
Good.
the opportunity to partner with the village and the park district, obviously, in off-time uses. So it's just a big step forward
Good.
for Vernon Hills High School and obviously the school district.
Good, okay, thank you.
Sure.
And maybe one additional request, I believe there was a bid alternate that you wanted to discuss with our board.
Yeah, one of the things that we're hoping for your support on is that part of the cost of doing the field is that we've got to strip all the sod that's currently on the field and a lot of the topsoil off, and we have to either transport it off-site for $38,000, or if the board so is inclined, if we could take it and put it on, I don't know what the technical term of that, I call it Mount Janulus.
We'll go with that.
In deference to my predecessor, the mound between the waste treatment plant and the retention pond on VHAC, that if we were able to put the spoils, if you will, of the construction project there, that would save us $38,000, which would be much appreciated.
And some background on that, we did review that and the specifications with their engineer, Manhart Consulting, and in terms of the impact, it would add another 2 feet on top of the hill. 2 feet is not going to cause any harm. I think this is another way that the village board can show and help contribute financially to the project and offset costs.
Is that above and beyond the 929, that 38, or is that part of?
No, that drops.
Okay, so now that's a freebie. So now you're down to
Yeah.
190,000 short, give or take.
Yes, absolutely.
So to follow up on that, you would then just bring us, what, a resolution or how are you going to process that?
With the village board's concurrence, I can work that out directly with them. They would understand from your direction that it would be a deduct from the contract. They would work with their contractor to approve that deduct, and then they invite me to the pre-construction meeting. We'll go through the specifications, expectations with their contractor and make sure it's done and restored properly.
Okay. I'll see if I get
Just
concurrence in a
concurrence,
second.
sir.
Yeah, trustee Markort?
Just another question in regards to, because of the many uses that would be able to do on that field. Is there a thought went through my head is a fact that Cubs Field and so on are having bands play and having something, is that something possibly for there to make a fundraiser to benefit from the school, to the park district, to the village? I don't know. And that's the thing I just wanted to throw out because I don't know if it's a possibility, but you see it in other areas, but it's a possibility here.
Yeah, we've had several summer activities that we, a thing that we really are open to, and we've had several Special Olympics, AYSO type big events, and we would partner with all the VHAC site people to bring bigger organizations in that also then would have hotel uses and restaurants. And so, we're just so fortunate that we have this VHAC site and see it as, we'd be open to, we've worked with the village probably 3 or 4 times on big events where we've used our whole site, and definitely would be open for any ways to enhance things for the community.
Great. It's great.
Relay for Life, not at our site, at Libertyville. We've done it, yeah. A lot of times it has to do with the turf, and, yeah, the use of the grass and that type of thing.
Anything else from the board?
Just a point off, How we doing on getting a bigger musical element for the 4th of July parade this year? I know we've had a drum group or whatever from your band, yeah, but we
Yep.
getting,
Yeah, we don't have a marching band is the issue that we have. And so, our kids are spread so thin that we have to decide what programs to have, and we've stayed with a pep band, but our kids don't march has been the issue. So the best we've been able to do is to take our drum corps and have them be in the parade. But, we talk with our band director. Our kids just don't ever march because we don't have a marching band.
Right.
That's our biggest issue.
no, we'll put them on Ernie's flatbeds if we can get just
Yeah.
more of them to make it sound a little,
Okay.
Drive them.
I didn't ever hear that request coming from you, so we do have a pep band, so great.
yeah, put them on a flatbed. We'd love to have another musical element in the 4th of July parade, especially a hometown musical element.
Okay, so, yes?
It's not, I'm just curious, marching bands, is that becoming a thing of the past for high schools? Or is it simply because of all the other programs that you're not able to
Yeah,
do
there's some schools that have marching bands, some schools that don't. It's really kind of the direction of your music department of what they want to be about. Usually precipitated by if the band director is very heavy into marching band, that type of thing. But it really is the direction that comes out of the music department. We decided to go with a pep band instead of there's a lot of things that happen with a marching band. And just, our kids are involved, we're a small school of 1,400, and we're kind of spread across a lot of things. Our kids do lots of things, multiple things. At
Oh,
Vernon
we
Hills
know
High
they
School.
are.
Yeah.
They're here a lot.
Yeah, right.
One comment I did want to make as an observation, you made a comment that brought flashbacks to me of how fortunate we are to have the VHAC site. It was long, hard work on everybody's part to get that, and it's something we can all be very proud of. I like nothing better than a few years ago when we were short of drivers and I was driving a band up or a group up from, I think it was Northbrook, and as we came through the VHAC on the way to the field up north, you heard that, wow, look at this, why don't we have this? And I think I was gonna pop out of the seat, I was so excited, it was great.
And that's one of many things that we're so fortunate at Vernon Hills, and at Libertyville too, but we have a world-class high school there, through great leadership, wonderful teachers, but it takes more than that to sustain that, and you have excellent schools because of the sustained partnership with your community. And you have been so gracious, and the taxpayers here in support, and the community in support of Vernon Hills High School, and that's the perfect formula for outstanding schools. And when you put great leaders, outstanding teachers together that work with kids, that's the formula just to have schools get
Winning
better
card,
and
isn't it?
better and better. So we thank you so much for your continued support and encouragement. We really appreciate it.
And thank you for coming in tonight to fill us in on this. So it sounds like what we're going to have is staff do the paperwork and contact and bring everything back to us.
Would we need a motion at this time to direct staff to create two equivalent ordinance documents, one for the approval of the site grading to use the spoils on Mount Janulus. And the second to commit.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't let me talk to Dave, and we'll figure it out for the 15th.
Yeah, we'll
All
just
right.
bring
You
it
know,
back.
we
for the
might do
15th.
it in one. It's really just putting spoil on that property. It's,
Right.
We do that kind of stuff all the time. We just wanted to
But do you need
alert you.
concurrence tonight via a motion?
I don't,
To
it seems
I
like
don't
there's
think we need a motion,
consensus.
yeah,
Okay.
it seems to be
So I
consensus.
think we just, prepare it,
Yeah.
put it on the consent agenda on the 15th and go.
On
If that's okay.
the
with
next
you.
board meeting.
And
Yeah.
then we'll figure out the disbursement of the funds
Sounds
in the,
good.
Okay.
during the interim.
Okay.
Looks like we got a
everybody.
date.
Thank you for coming. And again, congratulations, Dr. Sweeney.
Great, thank you.
Can I make one more thing?
Sure.
You mentioned flatbeds, and wanted to take this opportunity to thank Dave Brown and his public works staff. This past weekend, the Cougar Athletic Boosters, along with their athletic teams, delivered something like 4,000 bags of mulch throughout the community. And thanks to Dave and the monstrous trucks that you guys have, and the support that went very smoothly. And we really, really appreciate all of his efforts and the efforts of this board to help make that happen. Because while it was cold and rainy, got her done, and thanks to you guys. So thank you.
Have
Dave.
we brought in your girls' basketball team yet to be recognized for second and state?
Not yet.
I don't think
We
we've had
probably
it
need
yet.
to do that before school is out. When is school out? When is school done?
May 31st.
So we need to probably
Well,
get
That would be
going.
the next
One more
board meeting.
meeting.
Yeah, we may be calling them in before they all disperse for the summer, so.
They'd be thrilled.
They would,
In the
yeah,
next 2 weeks.
they're
It'll
excited.
be in
All
2
right,
weeks.
sounds good.
And we may have other teams.
I'm
Spring-
sure we
spring
always
coming- yeah.
will. It's always good. Good.
I don't think our sign can keep growing. We gotta
Thank
come up
you.
with a second one today, but, thank you.
Okay, next item is a proclamation of Public Works Week. I had it a second ago.
See, I'll end up screwing it up if I do that.
Supposed to go to it.
Yeah, I know. Oh, okay. Public Works Week proclamation, whereas public work services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives. The support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewers, streets, highways, public buildings, solid waste collection, and snow removal. And the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, are vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of public works officials and the efficiency of the qualified, dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitudes and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Now therefore, Roger L. Byrne, President of the Village of Vernon Hills, does hereby proclaim the week of May 20th through 26th, 2012 as National Public Works Week. Public Works creating a lasting impression in the Village of Vernon Hills, and we call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the problems involved in providing our public works and to recognize the contributions which public works officials make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. And I think you just heard from the athletic director that our public works group is doing a really, really good job, so
Yes, they are.
thanks, Dave. Okay, and, I'm sorry? Trustee Schwartz.
I just personally wanted to say how much I appreciate the Public Works Department and everything they do at the golf course. Whenever I call, they immediately come over. They do an unbelievable job, and then they go in above and beyond and do more than I ask. They always do it with a smile, so it's always wonderful to have them at the course. So thank you very much.
And I've always said, sitting up here, it's easy for us to sit up here and come up with wonderful ideas for things to do in the community, but then somebody actually has to go out and do them. And Public Works is one of the groups in this community that does an awful lot of things that take a great deal of work that are just some ideas that people came up with. So, again, thanks. Anything else on this one? Okay, next item is proclamation of National Police Week, Peace Officers Memorial Day. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which it falls as Police Week, the members of the law enforcement agency of Vernon Hills play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of Vernon Hills. It is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And the men and women of the Vernon Hills Police Department unceasingly provide a vital service. Now therefore, Roger L. Byrne, President of the Village of Vernon Hills, calls upon all citizens of Vernon Hills and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 13th to the 19th, 2012 as Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our people may join in commemorating police officers past and present who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and securities of all citizens. President Byrne also further calls upon all citizens of Vernon Hills to observe Tuesday, May 15th, 2012 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those police officers and peace officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community and have become disabled in the performance of duty, and let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. And again, our police department, same thing. We come up with these ideas for events and stuff like that, and you guys go out there and between you and Public Works, you guys make it all happen. So, thank you. Did you want to say anything about this?
No, just again, we thank you for your support. We thank the village for their support. Without the support of the residents and the board, we would not be able to be nearly as successful as we have been.
Okay. All right, next item, electric aggregation vendor selection. Village manager.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Some really good news. I sent this out to you over the weekend. Literally, we were working on this most of the day Friday, and I should give credit where credit's due to Gita Newkirk, the deputy village manager of Buffalo Grove. Really did a lot of the work for the 7 communities. Again, it's Buffalo Grove, Arlington Heights, Long Grove, Lincolnshire, Wheeling, Palatine, and of course us. And we locked numbers in on Friday, and I'm happy to say we are going to work with Integris Energy Services. They're associated with People's Energy. I think Integris actually owns People's Energy now, and it's 42% below the current Commonwealth Edison rate. So with your indulgence, let me read through some of this, and everybody can look at this information on our website, as well as they'll be getting the information at home. So, but that is for renewable energy, that 42% decrease, 100% renewable credits, so primarily from wind source. And then a few other things. There'll be nothing on, first of all, if you're a regular, so to speak, residential user, you will not have to do anything to be enrolled in this. You'll get information at home, but you can just throw it in the trash like you do a lot of things, and you'll be enrolled automatically in the program. So ComEd will still be sending you the bill. They'll still be delivering it to your house. A tree comes down on a line, it'll be ComEd trucks out there, all that good stuff. Integris is a supplier of the energy, and to your house, there'll be still Commonwealth Edison, so people don't have to worry about that. Our estimation is that an average resident would save $150 to $200 annually. So, it's a significant savings. For all of our residents, if everyone enrolled, we're talking at today's rates about $1.8 million savings. I mean, it's pretty amazing, and you can see why over almost a couple hundred communities went with referendums this spring because it's truly a lot of money. Again, it's Integris, and Mike's going to scroll the phone number as well as their website. Again, you'll get that at home, and we'll send out blast email. There's 2 special classes of residential customers I should mention. PIP, which is percentage of income payment plan. That's for people low to moderate incomes. We, meaning Integris, really will have to take a look at those people individually to see if the rate they get under ComEd is better, and then they wouldn't be enrolled. And also, people that have electric space heat plans. Those people also get a below market rate at their home. So I'm not sure how many people we have that have electric heat in their homes. Then small commercial business, that's defined roughly as 15,000 kilowatt hours annually. So those individuals that own small businesses, they'll also receive information from Integris. And then, for those people who choose a third-party provider, if you still have a contract, say if you signed on 3 months ago, then you should opt out. You're still with that provider. The good news is, if you did sign up with Integris 3 or 4 months ago, they'll give you this new lower rate automatically. So that's a good thing for people who signed up with Integris. The program will start with the first meter read after enrollment. And so you're probably, for me, I'll use myself as illustration. My meter reading date is the 9th of the month. So mine would start on the 9th of June and would run through the 9th of June in 2013. And the reason we went out that far was we want to see what ComEd rates are in May of 2013. And then we can do a number of different things. We can get together, bring the band back together, the consortium, and go out and negotiate with Integris. We don't like what they're providing, we can go out and find another vendor. Or thirdly, maybe ComEd's the best at that point in time. Who knows? But we'll take a look at that next year. And then just so I have had a few questions. Well, what's in this for the village or what? Well, it's saving our residents $1.8 million over a year. Larry estimates we'll probably lose about $90,000 in utility tax. So far tonight's cost us $190,000, right? So we better slow the meeting down, right? But that gives you an idea. Actually, the village will lose money because, of course, the rates will be lower, which is a good thing for all of us users. So just to point that out. And then, as I mentioned, in the spring of 2013, we'll take a look at all of these items. And anybody can contact me directly for any questions, and I'll help as far as I'll have to get some of that information from ComEd, some of it from Integris. But you will be receiving a multiple of information, something from Integris, something from ComEd. And again, you don't have to do anything. If you don't want, you can just throw it out and you'll be enrolled with Integris. And I think that is really about it. There's also some websites Mike will have, and there's some really great websites like the Illinois Commerce Commission has and CUB, where you can look at your energy use and really reduce your use and save money that way. So are there questions? I know Trustee Williams did have a question, and actually common areas of apartments are a different rate class, so they wouldn't qualify under this. Yeah, there is an amazing number of rate classes that ComEd has.
Was that also the common area of the condo, townhomes, all of that's a different rate?
Correct.
class?
So it would just be one's unit in that condominium. They get a different rate class. So.
Trustee Marquardt?
I'd also inform that you probably may receive mail that are coming from other energy sources. So
Right.
that's probably one of the reasons why possible. But,
Right. that's a great, and I forgot that. If you of course, as a resident, can choose any supplier you want. If you want to stay with ComEd, just opt out and do nothing, you'll be with ComEd. If you want XYZ power, you can sign up if they have a program, if they're Aries, certified power supplier, you can sign up with them, anything you want to do with that. I would say, though, that over the next month, I would suggest, Trustee Marquardt's right on point, they'll get very aggressive because, of course, this is the end of their being able to sign up people feasibly for any company. So you will get solicitations, and again, for residential customers, sans the PIP customers and the electric heat customers, you don't have to do anything, and you'll be signed up with Integris through the village aggregation program.
And refresh our memory as to if people are going to door trying to peddle this kind of thing, they have to have a permit, correct?
Yeah, they have to have a license and be registered, and people should demand identification from anybody that comes to your door. And if they don't have it, well, first of all, you can say, please leave. Secondly, you can say, if they don't have identification, please call 911.
Chief, anything? I mean, if they're solicitors, they should have a peddler's license.
Absolutely, they should have a peddler's license. And they should have identification identifying themselves as employees of the company they represent. And like Mike said, should someone come to the door without the identification or fail to produce it when asked, please just call 911.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on this one?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you, and probably people will start seeing the information next week.
Okay. All right, nobody else has a speaking part tonight, I guess? Looking around, nobody wants to say anything? Okay, all right. Next would be omnibus vote agenda. Is there a motion to approve items A through, what is it, S?
So made.
Second?
We have a motion, a second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, next item is unfinished business. Approval of the April 17th public hearing minutes on the electric aggregation plan of operation and governance.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any comments, corrections? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of the April 17th, 2012 Village Board meeting minutes. Is there a
Motion to approve?
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any comments or corrections? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of Kemper voucher list, bills dated May 1st, 2012, in the amount of $11,529.95. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion is second. Comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Approval and passage of Resolution 2012-081, a resolution authorizing execution of a market license agreement with Benzodone USA Incorporated.
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second.
Is,
Comments or questions?
Yeah, can I
It-
speak to this?
Sure.
Trustee Cook? This again is something we've talked on and off again. We had a farmer's market for several years, and this would be offering this French market that is in a number of towns. And just anecdotally, I think the mayor asked me last time, I saw the mayor of Lisle in Springfield last week, and I knew they had a French market. I asked the mayor, what do you think? And he was effusive. He thought it was great for their downtown. People love it. They've had it for 8 years now, and he said they even have music sometimes. and it really ramps up as the growing season moves along. And I also found, I think I sent this on to you, it depends on the market, but some of them are a little bit more food than others. So it's kind of a 60-40 split, or sometimes 50-50 split on food versus other items. So just to mention it. Now, before you tonight is the agreement. They would like, we think we understand it, Bob, but should I explain it and then tell me if I'm wrong? Okay. They would like, in their standard contract, and Bob and I went back and forth with them a bit, that if the agreement is terminated for whatever, it just expires after a number of years, or one of the parties terminates it, that for 3 years afterwards, we could not operate a farmer's market on that site. And Bob just highlighted that, and he and I talked about that a couple weeks ago. It's not something generally we'd like to do. They of course are looking at it from the standpoint of they build their goodwill, and some local guy comes in and says, I'm going to start a German market or something and displace this, or whatever it would be. So we wondered on that business term what your thoughts were on that. I don't know, Bob, if you want to clarify that at all, too.
Well,
or maybe make it more complicated.
Make it more complicated. To me, the issue is the village holds its property for the public, and now the village is going to say that for 3 years, the public cannot use it for a farmer's market because one company doesn't want it to be used for 3 years. If I put it in the commercial retail scenario, there might be a retailer that would negotiate for like a go dark provision that says that if we leave, then you can't put a similar retailer in that space. That's in the commercial retail. It's not always done. It does exist.
I have seen it done.
I'm just not as comfortable seeing a municipal government do it with public land. So I've emailed the attorney to share that opinion with him, and we'll see where we get back. So maybe the thing to do, if there's a desire to move this forward, to do it subject to a resolution of that issue. And I think we should get an indication that if they won't do this without that, what's your consensus on that?
Trustee Williams. I'm sorry, Trustee Williams, I don't have.
Excuse me, you said that any market?
Any market.
On that site.
On that
On the
site.
site.
That's
So
what I mean.
you could
So it's not
feasibly,
that they don't want another French market, it's any market.
Any open air market.
Open air farmer's market is what.
Oh, I don't agree with that at all.
What if you had a?
What is their profit that they're generating? In other words, if we can boil this down into dollars and cents, that if we terminate them without cause, which is what they'd be looking at, really.
No, they're looking,
Yeah, I know.
no matter what.
Right. So at the end of the contract even, we couldn't start with another, yeah, that's,
right. For 3
It's the
years.
best location in town, from
Right.
my humble opinion, so it's tough to take that best location away.
Trustee Markwart?
Yeah, I don't like the terminology because, again, it leaves it a little bit broad. You're saying of any type, if you had a rummage sale type thing, it wouldn't allow for that either.
Right.
So,
what are they looking
doesn't
for in the
feel-
way of a penalty?
Well, they would have to litigate that, yeah.
There is no real penalty clause, they just didn't want it to happen. If they got their language, they don't need a penalty. And I think what they're coming from the perspective of they're expending their
Their
reputation,
goodwill, yeah.
their goodwill, bringing it to the site, and for whatever reason that they close, whoever comes in behind them is going to be able to benefit from that goodwill and that reputation.
Well, but what they're putting in is goodwill and reputation. What we're putting in is actual cash and some land. So I don't even equate the two. I agree
guess
with
the
Trustee
other-
Williams. I'm not sure I'd like to see that kind of a clause in there.
Well, maybe
How
what we
about if we
do,
could work through this, you know, and this maybe is getting too lawyered up here, but, you know, maybe we could look at what's the definition of the site. And you probably know where I'm going with this. Hopefully they're not watching, but anyway, you know, that we'd say this is the site, and if in 3 years, I mean, frankly, the chance of us, it could happen, but the chance of us getting another farmer's market right in there immediately is probably remote. You know, we've had a lag now for what, 5 years, probably 4 or 5 years at least. So maybe what we could do is talk about the site,
Well,
and if
in-
we put it on the other end of the
In
lot,
lawyer,
that's
in
not the same
lawyerese,
site.
if the site is between, if you're at a football stadium
Right.
and the current site is between the 10 and the 30,
Yeah.
is between the opposite 40 and 20,
Right.
is
Well,
that a
I'm
different site, or is the stadium the site?
well, this agreement calls for an exhibit to define the site. So we're gonna have a cross-hatched area. You know, the map may not even include all of the Metro's parking lot, but it'll have a small cross-hatched area, and that will be the site. You know, they might still respond, but that's clearly an easy,
Yeah.
Well, do we, what's the board's pleasure? Do we want to move this forward tonight, or do we want to table this till we get further clarification?
I'm comfortable with giving the village manager and the attorney the authority to negotiate a suitable resolution, and seeing as how they both serve at the pleasure of the board, I'm assuming that they'll do what we are kind of intimating here as the right thing from our perspective.
Don't worry, we can't carry, I mean, we can, but we don't carry guns.
So we'll
Okay.
try to,
All right, so
do
do we,
something
should
that-
we amend, would the first and second like to amend the motion, or withdraw the motion and put a new one out there?
Amend the motion to state that it is
It's subject
subject to final negotiations between the village staff and whatever it is, Bedouin
Outstanding
USA,
issues.
hmm?
On outstanding
All
issues.
outstanding.
And all outstanding issues.
I agree with
Second agrees, okay. All right, any other comments or questions? All right, hearing none, then a roll call on the new motion?
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye?
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, any new business or communication? Anybody have anything?
You want to give us an update on Springfield?
Okay, a
well,
Springfield update?
there's no bill out there to try to take LGDF money. That's a good thing, but they do have, there's this one bill that trustee Schultz has brought up to Representative Sente, and that's the Responsible Bidder Act. I finally remembered the name of it. I've been having a mental block on it, but it's basically, it would compel municipalities and other governmental entities to enforce contractors having a apprenticeship program, and if they didn't have an apprenticeship program, we couldn't let them bid. It's another one of those raise the cost of bidding process, you know, and some of our, as you all know, some of our bids are very small, they're small jobs, and when you do that, you're really raising the cost of doing business. So that was one of them, and of course, pensions. Representative Neckritz talked to the whole group of mayors. That was pretty interesting about what they're going through, trying to find, what is it, $85 billion for the 5 state pension funds. And they think they've got that program basically that the governor talked about last week, was it, or 2 weeks ago? That would get them darn close to that figure over 30 years. I think it's 30 years. So, but, you know, everyone's expecting a constitutional challenge, but because it impacts, the argument is, existing employees that fall under those 5 pension systems. And some, several mayors asked, when are we gonna get relief on the local level with downstate police and fire pension systems? And she said, we'd be more than happy to work on those, but we have our plate full, these 5 we need to get done first. So that was some of the discussion down there.
Okay.
What's going on in Nevada?
All right. Anything else under new business or communication? Do we need to go into executive session tonight?
We have 2 personnel items.
Okay. Personnel only?
Correct.
Okay. So if there's no other. Okay. 2 personnel, 1 litigation. Okay, is there a motion to, we don't have any reason to come back, right?
Correct.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn the board meeting and go to committee of the whole, after which we'll go to executive session for personnel and litigation?
So moved.
Second?
Motion second, roll call, please.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye, motion carries. We're adjourned. Okay, I'd like to call the committee of the whole meeting to order. First item is the approval of the April 17th, 2012 committee of the whole minutes. Is there a motion approved? Okay, motion.
Second?
All right, motion is second. Any comments, questions, corrections? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye,
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
motion carries. Next item, request for an outdoor merchandise display and sales permit for Lowe's at 1616 North Milwaukee Avenue.
Thank you. I can give you a brief summary of what's being requested. The store manager, Jerry Roval, is here representing Lowe's to present details on their request for an outdoor merchandise display and sales permit. All the merchandise would be located on the sidewalk in front of their store and not in the parking lot. There'd be three different parts to the items that will be displayed. The first one is seasonal goods, including garden plantings, mulch, and similar items like that, that would be located in front of the garden center, and that's shown in green on the site plan attached to your packet. Secondly, there'd be general merchandise, which would include grills, wheelbarrows, benches, and similar items that would be located adjacent to the main entrance, and that's shown in orange on your attached site plan. And finally, there would be commercial lumber products and like plywood and things like that, that would be located under the canopy in front of their store. That's the canopy that's most adjacent to Mariano's. The merchandise would be displayed, if the board approved it, from whatever date that was until October 1st of this year. Lowe's is making this request in response to a sluggish retail market, in particular from what they've stated for building material sales. Again, the application and the site plan are attached to your packet. If the board feels that the temporary use is appropriate, then staff should be directed to prepare a resolution approving the outdoor merchandise display and sales permit, subject to the conditions outlined in your packet. And again, the petitioner is here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Trustee Hebda.
I don't have a problem with the garden area display and maybe the merchandise in the front. What I do have a problem with is all of that massive amount of wood and materials under the canopy. I don't understand why you need that out there when that's supposed to be a pickup for contractors or whatever to bring things. That's the one I have a problem with.
That's exactly why we would want that there, so that it would be a quick pickup. The things that are going to be there are on that large roll-up door at the commercial end will be on the right and left-hand side. It'll be one bunk of plywood and or one bunk of wallboard, and then or
It's in between the posts.
it's in between. Yes.
It's in between the posts.
Yes.
I mean,
On either side of
Still
the.
gonna, I mean, I have a problem with that. I don't care what you're telling me, I have a problem with it. I think that's gonna look, I mean, how much stuff are we gonna put out there? And,
Not very much.
and what's
Let me-
gonna come next, and what's gonna come next? I
Let
mean,
me
I understand
see.
your garden area and some of your other stuff, but I just don't know. You know, you drive in, you
Can I
load
show you
it
these
up,
pictures?
and I've got it right here in front of me. I'm
These?
looking at what you're, yep, I got it right here in
Okay.
front of me.
These are, in our opinion, they're very similar to what other home improvement companies do.
Home Depot doesn't do it.
Home Depot doesn't do it.
They've got their garden stuff.
Okay, that's fine. They chose not to do it. This is one of the things that we would like to do.
From this point of view, I don't see it to be necessary, but someone else may have a different opinion. That's my opinion.
And throw
One
in
of the,
some
one of the
information.
things that I'd like to point out, if you've ever been in a Lowe store, and there's a substantial difference in merchandising, cleanliness, and appearance of a Lowe store
Oh, I don't deny you
than there
that.
is of any other home improvement store.
I appreciate all of what you've done, but I just don't know that this part needs to be necessary. That's right out in front there, and I don't know that it's appropriate. You can talk all you want. I don't like it.
That's fine. I choose to disagree.
Yep.
Respectfully, but if you go just a few feet over, you have large boxes of watermelons and everything else right in front of a main door of the grocery store
But
next
those
to it.
things go in at night. You're not gonna move this in at night. You're gonna leave this out all the time.
No, it would stay out overnight,
It's
yes.
gonna stay out all the time.
But they would be stacked,
And they're nicely displayed.
they would be stacked and fixed at
And
night.
then you've
They
got them
would
on the
not-
fence portion too, here by the fence. You've got your second picture below it. Where's all that stuff going? On which side? The one below, that picture, you just touched it, no.
This one?
No, the one that's,
The very first one,
That
where's
one.
that
This-
stuff going? That
This
stuff-
would be if we put seasonal soil outside of garden at the very far end,
Okay,
which would be a pickup area. This would not be at the commercial end.
at the commercial, and this is down by the garden. I don't know what other board members feel, but that's just the way I feel.
Trustee Markwart.
I'll just do my 2 cents worth, and I know the display, but I know the Home Depot doesn't do it in town here, but I know that they'll do it.
Do it.
In fact, Gurney does it, Waukegan does it, that's both Lowe's, they'll do the tractor equipment outside because of a lumber area, and only because personally I deal or dealt with rehabs, and so you're looking at other items of paper, drywall, which is a displayer to get you to go in, so. As long as they don't block big views and put a lot out, I'm probably for this.
We can make it very manageable.
Trustee Schultz.
I'll back trustee Hebda on this. I'm happy to give you permission to stack the merchandise in your front vestibule area, the customer entrance areas, and in the garden area, but the building materials should remain inside. Just as a point of information, I've done 3 projects for a concern in Lake Forest. Over the past year, I tried to use your building materials. I found your womanized materials or your pressure-treated materials to be lacking, and I had to use the other company in town for those materials. So I think that may be a problem that you need to address more than just the marketing here, because I know several people have been turned off by the poor quality of the pressure-treated materials. It's just a comment coming from my experience over the last 4 to 6 months.
Trustee Williams.
Thank you. I've got to address what Trustee Schultz said first. I got to tell you, when I have my choice, I go to Lowe's. I love it.
Thank you.
Just love Lowe's. Now, having said that, and I don't care what they're doing in other towns, they're not us. We are the leader, in my opinion, and we will make sure that we stay that way. I, too, don't particularly like your stacking of materials out there. I don't have a problem with the garden center. I don't have a problem with the vestibule and the pickup area, possibly for the mulch, I think you had out there. That's not a problem, but the building materials I don't particularly like outside. Or unless they're off in the back on the side, not in the front somewhere. I don't like that part. But the rest of it is great. The store is beautiful. I get comments on it all the time. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the drawings as we see them, or is there a motion to approve them adjusted?
I'll move to approve them as adjusted so that we're only talking about the two areas, the garden area and the front vestibule or
General merchandise.
patico,
Eliminating the-
portico or whatever,
Eliminating the building.
the building materials from the approved.
If I may get a clarification, the garden center's okay. Then there's the area in front of the main entrance, which is general merchandise. That's on the sidewalk though, in
Yeah,
front of
that's
that's okay.
okay.
And then the, under the drive under canopy, that's not okay.
Right.
Correct.
Thank you.
Now, just as a question of a point of order here, can we make this kind of a motion, or should we look at the original proposal and have a motion for the original proposal, see where that goes first, and then?
Unless you want to go back and rework something else up.
Well, to be quite honest with you, there isn't any other way to put
Right.
building material out in front of a building. And if that's a problem in passing it, then I would just simply like to take that piece off and deal with the stuff on the front door and at
And
the
the
garden
garden.
center. And
Because it sounded like you had three votes going.
There's three
That's why
different
I'm
sections,
questioning
right,
it.
Correct.
you're looking at.
That's, okay. All right, so the motion then is to approve it as presented, except with the exception of removing the building materials portion of it.
Building material.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Get
And
directing staff to prepare a resolution approving. Thank you.
Okay,
Correct.
so that's the motion?
That
there a
is the
second?
motion, Mr. President.
And I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Schwartz,
Aye.
trustee Williams,
Aye.
trustee Hebda,
Aye.
trustee Cook,
Aye.
trustee Markwart,
Aye.
trustee Schultz.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very
Right.
much.
Thank you.
Come and see us.
Will do.
They do.
I love your tools.
okay, next item is the River's Edge condominiums request to approve subdivision improvements.
Thank you very much. Jerry Weiss is here, developer of River's Edge. Maybe as some background, staff has been working with a number of different projects that, due to the downturn in the economy, might not have been able to move towards a second phase. We're working with Aspen Point Townhomes, we're working with the Opus development, and this is a third one, River's Edge. River's Edge development, they've completed the first phase. In terms of the economy, it sounds like at this time they wouldn't be moving forward with the second phase unless some serious things change. They've completed the infrastructure, and they've completed that a long time ago. So the proposal from Mr. Weiss is a couple of things. Because it's been installed for such a long time, he's asking for the maintenance guarantee to be reconsidered. Typically, we would ask for a 2-year maintenance guarantee, but the improvements were completed 4 years ago plus. What he's really dealing with is a couple of things. There was you may recall, along the Des Plaines River, there's a detention pond. The detention pond had a retaining wall. The retaining wall was constructed properly, but due to soil conditions, etc., it has leaned forward. So Mr. Weiss is actively working towards pumping down the pond and reinstalling that retaining wall. So he's committed to do that, and he's moved forward with it. In fact, he tried to do this last fall, but with the influence of the Des Plaines River, you can pump, and the pond level really doesn't go down too much. So we're working with him to complete that. He does have pumps actively working right now, trying to complete the retaining wall. So I think there's a good faith effort on that. The second item that is not completed is the as-built. He's submitted as-built, but we can't approve the as-built until the pond retaining wall is reconstructed and he resurveys it so we can verify the pond's volume. So those two are part and parcel with one another. The other two items are, there's a asphalt path that, should the second phase be completed, the parking lot would be extended further easterly towards the pond, and then there would be a short asphalt path that would go towards the forest preserve and the river. Right now, in viewing it, it's in a grassed situation. Coming from an engineer, my recommendation, I don't think the world needs to be paved. It's adequate in terms of grass that people have been over the last 4 years being able to walk back and forth. There's not enough people that are even wearing a trail back and forth. So we need to consider whether or not he's asking for relief in terms of extending an asphalt path to the Des Plaines River. The last item is there is a gazebo. Correction to my memo, we did research it. It was shown on the landscape plan. Mr. Weiss has advised me that in fact he has the materials, it's in storage. He hasn't constructed it, but he hasn't heard a lot of hue and cry from residents that they need the path or they need the gazebo. So that's really his request, is consideration of those two items. And the third one is in terms of the maintenance guarantee. He has posted a $25,000 cash bond. Instead of asking for a 2-year 10% letter of credit in the amount of $53,000, he would like to utilize the $25,000 cash bond until the items are completed that the board desires to be completed. And Mr. Weiss is available should you have any questions.
Are we sure that the reason people haven't asked about the gazebo is because they don't care, or maybe they don't even know there was supposed to be a gazebo there? Because it's been my experience that people will know more about a $29 toaster than they do about a $400,000 home they buy.
It's been my experience also in some cases. What happens is that the gazebo is there, even if they want, it's going to be put there. I'm not trying to say it'll never be put there. It's on site, it's in the garage, it's ready to be assembled. But it serves no purpose where it is right now. It would be adjacent to the second phase. It's just a question of delaying that gazebo and ensuring we are committed to doing it unless they insist that we don't do it. They would come back to you and ask for a modification if they decided it was not what they wanted. But right now, it's just a question of timing, not a question of, fulfilling that obligation. It's right there.
Okay. Trustee Marquardt.
Gazebo, I don't have a problem, and one of the things is that we've had the scout troops do gazebos. That could be, you have the material, maybe someone wants their badge, and you could end up trying to find out for them to assemble it.
Okay.
And that's free of charge. They do it, I would ask.
That would be
Got
fine,
the materials,
as
so.
long as we don't run into a union problem.
No, and you do when you have to.
No, that would be fine. It is just to take a little of the romance out of it. It's metal, so it won't have the same feel. But certainly, that would be an interesting application of what would go on. We would certainly keep that in mind.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't
Where do we want to go with this? What are you requesting, David?
Really soliciting board feedback as far as how to proceed forward with a couple of the items. Really, it's the gazebo, the asphalt path, and the waiver of the 2-year maintenance guarantee. Maybe in terms of the 2-year maintenance guarantee, it has been something that the board has granted in the past in terms of if a project has truly been completed, the punch list work has been completed for that period of time. We've relaxed that 2-year period in the past. So from a staff standpoint, I don't have a huge objection to working with the developer on this issue.
I don't have a problem
Yeah.
either, and I'd have to probably say too, because you talk about the path, I run the path. Yeah, there's not a lot of traffic area that comes off the path.
At
very
least
there.
until the second phase is
Yeah,
up.
second
Well,
Right, when
phase.
the
yeah,
second
the
phase
second
is
phase
We would
in,
do that.
Maybe
In
sure.
fact, the
Makes sense.
path
See.
actually doesn't go all the way back to the river. It cuts over to
It
the
goes
Forest
on.
Preserve, which we thought they were gonna connect us to, and they've not,
They stopped.
decided not to at this point. And also, the improvements have been there actually 6 years since they were completed. So, they've been there quite a period of time.
All right, so you just need concurrence from the board, or do we need an actual motion?
Concurrence with the board to move forward with it, and I would bring it back for acceptance at the next meeting if approved by the board.
So made.
Any objections?
No.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next item, consideration of a report and recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding a request for approval to amend the special use permit granted pursuant to ordinance 2007-31 for the Vernon Hills Town Center PUD to amend the approved signage plans for lots 4, 6, and 7, and to allow the wayfinding directional signage along Town Center Road and within the development near the easterly most entrance of off US Route 45.
Thank you, Mr. President. Representatives from Taxman Corporation appeared before the Planning and Zoning Commission on April 18th to request approval to place 3 wayfinding directional signs within the limits of the Town Center project. 2 of the signs would be located along Town Center Road, and the 3rd sign would be located off of the eastern entrance, or adjacent to the eastern entrance off of Route 45 near Philly G's. As you'll see in the information that's in your packet, the original sign package that was approved for the entire development did not anticipate this type of signage, but after review by the commission felt that the design of the signs itself were well done and in keeping with the overall development. The signs will not be lit or lighted in any way, but the letters will be reflective, so you will be able to see it with the adjacent light on it during night. The petitioner, since the Plan Commission meeting, but in concurrence with the commission, did slightly increase the size of the signs to anticipate a future use or 2, meaning basically what they did was they increased the sign about 12 inches, and it's slightly, so it adds an additional panel to it, and then they also changed the graphics of the arrows on it, again, in concurrence with the commission's direction at the meeting. Because this was a public hearing, public notices were sent out to the surrounding property owners. There were no comments either for or against the request that were received. Therefore, the commission voted unanimously to recommend approval to amend the special use permit to, and I won't go through the whole thing, but to allow the signs, subject to the 3 conditions that are in your packet tonight. General compliance with the ordinances and standards of the village, general compliance with the sign package information dated March 12th, which are in your packet, and general compliance with the setbacks as delineated in the plans in your packet, again, subject to the plans dated April 12th. If the commission feels that the request is appropriate, it's recommended the staff be directed to draft the necessary ordinance granting approval to amend the existing special use permit, which would therein amend the signage plan for lots 4, 6, and 7 within the development itself. Again, the petitioners are here if they can answer any questions or show you any graphics, and I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Any comments or questions from the board? No, this seems to be fairly straightforward.
It really is.
If there are no comments or questions, then is there a motion to direct staff to prepare the necessary ordinances?
So made. Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second.
And that would be subject to the conditions.
Yes, subject to the 3 conditions as expressed here. All right, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Hedda?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Abstain?
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Next item, Rust-Oleum Corporation, concept presentation for plans for proposed parking lot expansion at 11 Hawthorne Parkway.
Thank you, Mr. President. Representatives from Rust-Oleum are here tonight to present their plans for expanding the existing parking lot, which is located on the western side of their property. As you will recall, in late 2008, they were here previously and received approval to add an additional 40 spaces to that lot. Tonight, they're proposing to add 42 additional spaces to the western lot and consistent with the plans that you have in your packet. The lot will encroach within the 30-foot buffer area that's along Hawthorne Parkway and the western property line, which it also shares with Hamilton Partners. The lot will be set back 10 feet from the street right-of-way and approximately 5 feet from the common property line with Hamilton Partners. Expanding the lot in this case will result in the loss of 9 trees, 2 pine trees and 7 crab trees on the property. A majority of these trees are located along or adjacent to the common property, again with Hamilton Partners. You have a landscape plan that's in your packet. I would also note that we've been working with Rust-Oleum and encouraged them to discuss a possible expansion of the landscape planting area along the common property line with Hamilton Partners to create a larger landscape area in there, and they can comment on this tonight. Rust-Oleum's been willing to do a significant and enhanced buffer area in this area, and in staff's opinion, it really makes a lot of sense to do this. It creates a larger area that I think will benefit both properties. Rust-Oleum has indicated that they will do it at their own expense, and what they're looking for is concurrence from Hamilton Partners to proceed in this direction. So we'll see if Hamilton decides that this is a good idea. Again, you'll see the site plan tonight. We're requesting direction, and if you feel that this is an appropriate request, that they be directed to start technical review. Once they've completed that, they need to proceed to the Zoning Board of Appeals for consideration of certain variations, and then on to the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval of site landscaping design for the property itself. And with that, I can turn it over to Gene Childers and Scott Hesner, and I can answer any questions that you may have going forward.
So this has a lot of steps to go before it.
Yeah, it does, and this is kind of an exception to the rule. Typically, we're able to handle all of this at the Planning and Zoning Commission meetings, and because there's variations needed, and this is not part of a PUD or have an existing special use permit, we have to go through both bodies to come back to you.
Okay. Trustee Schwartz?
Quick question, did you say Rust-Oleum needs these parking spaces and wants them, or are they doing it to stay in compliance?
Well, they'll never reach compliance. The site's just not large enough based on our current ordinances. They're trying to expand the additional spaces to serve customers and also employees that are working out of this location.
So they do need the extra spaces?
Yeah.
Which in today's current business market is probably a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing, and they've had a long-term relationship with the village, and really been one of the corporate leaders here in town for a long time. So, I think whatever we can do to encourage them to remain and grow is really an important thing for us to do.
Okay. Floor is yours if you want to say a few things.
Don't really have much to say. John's pretty much covered the subject. Some numbers for you to consider.
And by the way, we all know you, but if you could for the...
Scott Hesner with the Hesner Corporation, and this is Gene Childers with Rust-Oleum Corporation.
Okay.
The point here is they have 256 employees, and they currently have 220 parking spaces. So they're pursuing a need that is evident. And with this parking expansion, they're going to be able to reach 261 parking spaces. The issues as far as encroachment on the landscape buffer, it's evident as well. I think that we're making some headway with Hamilton Partners, as John mentioned, looking at this landscape buffer as something a little bit more than just a hedge. is really the right way to go. And we believe that when we talk with the right people with Hamilton Partners, we're going to make some headway on that. So there's a lot of good things that can come of this, as well as achieving the goal, which is increasing the parking.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
The only comment really is that you're protecting, if I read this right, you're protecting the existing forest that has been established facing Route 60. So the only thing you're really doing is severing the buffer really between you and the Hamilton Partners parking lot. So I don't see that as a big deal. I think this has been done quite effectively, and it's got my blessing.
I would say to
Anyone else?
proceed. Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You likely won't see this for a while again, so it'll be sometime in late summer because of the meeting schedules, so just so
Put a
you're aware.
ramp there so you can go in and out.
Okay.
Jen.
What do you do now when the lot's full?
We're having a
Double
big
up.
problem with that. Right now, we're using some of the overflow from the vacant restaurant across the street.
Okay,
But it's a safety hazard for our employees because we don't want them crossing Hawthorne because
sure.
it's a lot of traffic.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is Bucky's Express Mobile Station, 485 East Town Line Road, presentation of concept plan for reconstruction of the lot and store.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, representatives from Buchanan Energy Company, or as they refer to their store as Bucky's, are going to appear tonight to discuss the concept plans for demolition and reconstruction of the existing fueling station at the intersection of Town Line and Ring Road. This is the mobile station at that location. Bucky's is entering this market, and they've purchased a number of mobile properties throughout the metropolitan area in the last couple years. And this is their beginning of upgrading of a number of locations throughout their area. They'll walk you through the plans itself and the like. I would make a couple of general comments going into this. We've had several meetings with them and trying to work on things and the like, and I think generally speaking, the architectural elevations and things like that, with your direction, can be resolved. As you'll see in my comments, or as you've seen in my comments, I should say, we do have some concerns about the elevations and the presentations and how they go together or don't go together, so to speak. And it's all resolvable, again, with some direction from this committee, without any, without really any problem. The one red flag for me, or concern that I have, is with regards to the canopy, the 200-foot canopy that they're going to install, and how the pump island configuration is going to be there. This is their business model. This is what they feel works best for their locations. We have seen this in other locations, and it does seem to be something that and they'll comment on this, I'm sure, that is industry standards for how you dispense fuel. So just keep that in mind. It is a long canopy that will be placed on that property. I think the other thing, they're going to improve the landscaping and address those areas. The landscaping plan, as I noted, is a substantial improvement at the location, and I think they've done a good initial job putting together that plan. I think we would all agree that the site is tired and really needs to be upgraded. And Buchanan and Bucky's, I think should be applauded for their efforts and their desire to do this. We have some work to do on it. There's going to be certain variations that are going to have to be granted as a part of the special use permit. We're going to have to resolve the architectural plan and work through those parts. You're going to need to give feedback with regards to the remainder of the plan itself and the like. But again, I think Buchanan's going in the right direction for this location and doing something that's been needed for a long time. So from that standpoint, what we need to do here is resolvable. So With that, I'll turn it over to their architect and representative here, and they can walk it through.
Well, the first thing I liked reviewing this package was their sign packages all said $3.33 a gallon, so that was a good thing.
We can make that a condition of approval?
Yes.
Yeah.
That might change the economics of the business, so I'm sorry. Good evening. I'm Walter Hainsfurther. I am president of Kurtz Associates Architects. We're the architects for this project. And I am joined by Richard McMahon from Buchanan Energy, who's their real estate development manager in the Chicago market. And thank you, John, for a pretty concise explanation of what could be a little more difficult discussion in terms of what we're trying to do. As John said, this site was probably built in the late 70s or early 80s by Mobil. And then, as large companies are known to do, they walk away and kind of ignore it. In 2 years ago, as many of the oil companies have started to do, ExxonMobil sold all of their retail operations in the Chicago market, and they chose Buchanan Energy out of Omaha to be their face in Chicago, for lack of a better term. Buchanan Energy is a small company, although they're the largest gas and convenience store marketer in the Omaha area, which includes Council Bluffs, Iowa. They are a BP jobber there, a BP distributor there. But they bought not only the Mobil operations in Chicago, but I believe it's the Mobil operations in St. Louis as well a little bit earlier. It might have been the BP operations there, I'm not quite sure. But this is a trend where oil companies want to get out of the retail business and focus only on primarily the exploration and removing it and then piping it to a refinery that someone else owns now. So they're kind of out of what they call their downstream market, you know, this is traditional and or this is not traditional, but this is the marketplace that they're dealing with. As a smaller company, Buchanan Energy not only pays a little more attention to their operations in terms of maintaining them and keeping them up to date, but each site has to stand on its own financially. They're not a big company. They were founded by a gentleman who basically was a mechanic and has grown his business into something that, you know, is quite successful. And he has a model, and he wants to try and replicate that model as many places as possible. So that brings us here. We bought these locations, I think 81 of them 2 years ago, and now because of our agreement with ExxonMobil and because of our desire to build the marketplace, we're coming through and we're going to be looking very, very carefully at the various operations and deciding which ones we want to invest significant dollars in to upgrade. Let's see if this is going to go. Yeah. So who are we? Well, we're a privately owned company. We're leading gas marketer in the Nebraska area, and as we mentioned, we purchased their assets. This is the survey of the existing station. As John mentioned, it's old and tired. You have a single entry off of both Ring Road and off of the loop road that goes from the Dominic's Shopping Center, what I'll call the Dominic's Shopping Center, although I know they're out, over to Westfield. And so there's an existing car wash. There's a fairly small store on the property, and as you see, the flow of the property is kind of the canopy faces Town Line Road, has the pump dispensers underneath it, but once you get in there, it's very difficult for you to get out. Gasoline is, first and foremost, it's a convenience item. And so what we want to do is construct our facility so that it has the maximum amount of convenience for the customer. To do that, the industry has gone to what's called a dive-in island concept. So in this case, we would want to construct our canopy in such a way that people just pull in and pull right up to the dispensers. We need 8 dispensers in order to make this a financially viable project. Anything less means we cannot get our payback back, so they would not be investing in that property. Obviously, we would have a canopy over those islands to be able to protect our customers coming in. One of the other advantages of a dive-in island is arrangement with the C-store in toward the rear of the property. From a customer standpoint, is they can see us and we can see them. And anytime you get out of a car, I don't care whether you're in Vernon Hills or in Highland Park where I live and where we're redoing a store as well, or on the south side of Chicago, you're at some risk. So that visual connection, as I'm sure the chief would agree, is a primary concern to us. So the way that our store is designed and the amount of glass we have allows people to be able to be seen whenever they're out of their car. And that's important to us. The other thing that's important to our customers is having head-in parking in front of the store, because when you're in a convenience situation, you'll pull in, you might leave your kids in the car, you probably wouldn't leave your keys in the car, but you'll run in, grab something, and leave within a couple of minute period of time. So that's why we kind of get to this configuration with the canopy and with the store. If we were to turn it 90 degrees and have what we would call tandem islands, it would actually probably enlarge the depth of the canopy, because we need 25 feet on center between islands in terms of the direction. In this case, if they were in tandem, they'd be 25 feet between them. And then we would want 30 feet instead of the 25 feet we currently have going in the other direction, so you could have a car, a space, and a car.
So with these 8 islands, they're all double-sided like the standard?
They're all typically double-sided. When I talk about a tandem island, it would be to put them
No, I understand.
next,
Yes.
back to
Yes.
back, basically.
Yes.
So we don't have
but
enough depth really to do that on this property.
But having 8 service things, you would be able to...
We'll have
with
16
cars
fueling
at-
positions. So 16 cars at any time, and as you pull in, you're able to see what's open, go directly to it, so it changes the maneuvering pattern, as opposed to having something blocked, having to try and fit your car between them and getting to that next stop. As John mentioned, there's quite a bit of landscaping. We're committed to doing quality landscaping on the site. I put the site plan up there just in case you needed any of the dimensions. I would point out that the underground tanks don't look like they're underground, but they're just on the east side of the canopy. That's the area where the tank truck would come and drop their load. It is a dedicated tank truck, so it's not making another stop. It basically comes in from the terminal, it drops its load, and then it goes back to the terminal, get another load, go service another station. The other thing I would tell you is that the car wash is slightly different than the car wash we have now. Car wash we have now, I believe, is a rollover style car wash where the car pulls in and stops and the brushes go back and forth. Car stands in one place. When it finishes, the car pulls out. I'm not sure whether that's the way it works, but that's the way many of them work. In this case, it's going to be a tunnel car wash, which is similar to what you see at Ernie's and I believe at Peacock. Peacock probably is a little more full service than what this would be, but it's all self-service. You load yourself on the conveyor and it pulls you through, and the machines are stagnant. In this case, all of our equipment, including the beginning of the conveyor, is inside the building. So there's nothing sticking outside the building. As John mentioned, we do have a design that we're very fond of. We are willing and able to work with you on the materials, and we will work, I think we have some ideas. I know staff has some ideas. We're interested in hearing your perspective of what you'd like to see The basic architecture, though, that's our trademark, and we'd like not have to vary from that, because we think it does have, we know it does have meaning in the marketplaces that we're in, and we know that it will have meaning to our customers in the marketplace of Chicago area. So, this is a picture of the entry kind of with the stone columns. I do have material samples if you're interested in seeing them, to see the actual material, which probably shows a little better than definitely the computer generated elevations. Couple of pictures of our interiors. It's bright, it's open. It has, all the usual things that you would see in a convenience store, fresh coffee, baked goods, cooler with the usual things. We will be coming before you and asking for a liquor license for beer and wine, which again is something that's important to our marketplace. Of course, we have, fountain drinks and coffee, and, give you an idea of kind of what the quality of the interior looks like. These I know were in your packets. I will say that the sign that says, well, in this case it is on there, the Buc-ee's on the back. Primarily split-face concrete block, the stone accents that we've shown, glass block on the rear because we want to get some light into that car wash tunnel. A little bit of drive-it just over the fascia that runs across the windows. But primarily it's an all masonry building. So that gives you an idea of where, what it looks like overall. With that, I'm interested in getting your questions and comments, and hopefully you will concur and send us to technical review so we can refine this and go through Planning and Zoning Commission and then bring it back.
Okay, Trustee Schwartz?
Everything, for the most part, looks acceptable, but the architecture on the building needs
Thank
a lot
you.
of help.
Thank you.
Needs a lot of help.
architecture.
The architecture.
Overall, or just?
The whole
Building needs a lot of help.
Trustee Schultz?
Now, I just had a problem with the corner, and I think Trustee Hebda has a problem with the corner also. That tower or silo or whatever, that's uglier than sin. And it looks worse in the photograph than it does in the drawing. The computer rendering looks much better, but in practice, that's just a big old blank hunk of ugliness. The other question I had is directed to the staff. As shown here, do they meet the sign ordinance?
We don't know. We don't think so because we haven't done the calculations on it yet.
Okay.
But
Yeah, because
there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that there'll be some refinement to the sign package as we go through.
Yeah, significant, like end of Rapid Wash and Buc-ee's scaled down significantly.
Well, and do other locations of yours actually say dirty car entrance
Yes.
and clean car exit?
Yes,
God,
they do.
I'm telling you,
I hope the
signage
kids
in
don't
this world is getting
carried away.
more and more to a lower denominator.
I've been saying that for a while.
Trustee Williams?
I'm curious, the fuel tanks,
Yes, ma'am.
they're shown on the east side of the property here. When at this time, the filler tanks are more on the north side of your property, the center, but the north side. You know where that little island is, where the little
Let me go back.
house sets, shall we say? Yeah, the little cabana thing there.
Yeah, they're between the
Well, the other
this
drawing
has
shows
got
it better.
a button, but let's see if I can do it with this. Right now, they're right about in here, right? I
Yes.
believe.
Roughly, right.
Right.
And now
And
you're
we're gonna
moving
put them down here.
there. So are
Yes.
you moving the entire tank?
Oh, the tanks will have to be removed anyway. That's part of our agreement with ExxonMobil. They want the tanks out. We'll be putting all brand-new tanks.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And a brand-new fueling system that, it's all double wall with monitors in between. It state-of-the-art in terms of leak protection. So we'll be when we talk about improving, we'll be stripping the entire site all the way down and digging up the tanks and putting new tanks in.
Well, definitely something has to be done to that area. I've been going there since I moved in town in '77, so it was built in
Yeah,
the
in
'70s,
the
by the
70s,
way.
that's what I thought.
And I don't go there anymore because the lot is so bad. It's just horrible. Something's got to be done. I don't necessarily agree with the architecture, though. I think we need to work on that.
Trustee Hebda.
You talked about visual connection being important to you. And visual connection to me in this village is very important. And right now, the masonry is great, but the rest of the stuff, we've got to do some major work here. I like your masonry sign that says mobile. I love that. I'd like to see more masonry done with this building. There's a place up in Third Lake called City Car Wash. I'd like you to drive up. It's Route 45 North, and there's also Thornton's Gas that's done some things. I think part of my problem is the color of this building is so light and just sticks out, and that's all I see. Check out the lighting at Lowe's in the front of the building, the lighting that we use up at the Nike site. Those are some things versus your little white lights
I
here.
should tell you that.
Wait, I'm not done. Let me just,
Yeah, okay.
I got a list, so
All
I
right.
think we can do
You talking
things
about
with
inside or when you
the
talk about
outside lighting that you've got
outside
here, those
lighting.
little
Right,
white
okay.
lights there. I think there's something that can be done because we have a major mall right next
Yes,
to you.
ma'am.
Route 60 is a major thoroughfare. I recognize that whole shopping plaza needs to
I
be
come
updated.
up here to shop probably every Saturday at either Walmart or
Okay, yes.
at Sam's, so
we've
I'm
gotta
up here a
do
lot,
that.
I know it.
We need to do some things with either the colors, the masonry. I appreciate the landscaping. And my biggest fear is you got all those windows, and you know what I see coming on those windows? Banner sizes, signs that say beer, $4.99, neon lights that say all this stuff, because I've seen it on the BP up in Grays Lake, and that's what I'm worried about, that's all gonna shine out there, and people have already commented on all these neon
I
signs
understand.
in Vernon Hills. So I think we can do things, and I'm done teaching in 3 weeks. I'd be more than happy to sit down and go through architectural renderings to
Love to
try
have
and
you,
help
And my
to do
summer's
something.
not as bad as my winters.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, I appreciate where you're coming from, and I don't want to diss anybody. I think the business, we certainly want it, but I just know where this location is, we could do better.
When you brought up lighting, Trustee Hebda, that triggered something else in my mind, and that is all of our canopy fixtures are LED fixtures, so they're going to throw out a lot less light than what's there, and it's a lot more targeted. So, I think,
I
as
think
a
there's
plus,
things
you're
we
going to
can
see some reduction in lighting, but I understand your concern.
Maybe it would be worthwhile to Cindy or Trustee Hebda and, I don't know, Trustee Schwartz or Trustee Cook, however we've done it in the past, where we sit down with the two of you and
That would be wonderful.
the petitioner and kind of go over the architecture, however you want to do it. I mean, that's been pretty successful in the
Yeah,
past.
yeah.
and We've done that.
And I really
that'd be
would
fine.
appreciate you looking at, I mean, I know that cost is expensive, but this isn't gonna fly for me at this point.
And that's what we need to hear. I mean, to be frank, they're new to Chicago market. I'm not.
I mean, you can
I've
even
done,
look at
I've
our-
done, the BP in Grays Lake you were talking about. I'm assuming it's the one at 45 and 120.
I mean, you
And
can
that's
look
one
at
of
our
our
train
designs,
stations
so.
and some of the things, I mean, we take real pride in what we're trying to do here, and I really think just because of, you're so visible down there, that's a huge corner for us, and I'd like to make it look
As I
as nice
said,
as possible.
they're new in the market, and these are things that they, quite honestly, need to hear so that we can go back to the people we report to
Okay.
and explain what it's going to take. So,
Good.
the important thing is, for us, quite honestly, it's that canopy is extremely important to us. And, there are certain elements in the design that are going to be important to us that we'll work on it with you.
Good.
Any other comments or questions from the board?
Anybody
think-
else want to partner with trustee Hebda?
I think trustee Schwartz.
Gene and I are
Yeah.
really good.
Gene
Great.
is good at
We
Yeah.
Thank you.
do some good stuff.
We look forward after
Yeah.
school's out to,
Yeah, well, we could do before, but
that's,
And is there any direction on the use of the brick versus the stone? You want the stone integrated or the
I like
brick
the-
integrated but more?
I like the
mean,
stone.
I like the stone.
Okay.
I really do like the
like that.
stone, and I think because it's so light,
right.
that's what you just see. So if we
Okay.
could tone it in such a way that it looks nice.
Blends
In with whatever. I mean, I'd love to be able to do that whole shopping plaza over, but
Yeah.
that's not gonna happen
It
right
needs
now.
it real
We'll
bad.
get there. We'll get there.
Eventually. Okay.
Okay, anything else? All right.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Great.
And I'm
you.
glad
Thank
you're
you.
doing something over there. It needs it badly.
All right, next item is consideration of a report and recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding amendment of the village's comprehensive land use plan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm really pleased tonight to present what I believe is the final draft of the update of the comp plan, comprehensive land use plan for the village. As you will recall, the plan was last updated in 2003. So in the interim, we've been a little bit busy. Fortunately, we were able to employ Rolf Campbell and Associates and Al Maiden and his team to assist us in completing this upgrade. As you'll note in your packet, I tried to highlight the 12 topics or 12 areas where we made some changes, either additions or upgrades to the plan itself. I would also note that if you so choose to recommend us moving forward with this, we have some details that we need to complete throughout the plan, and it's, formatting and reordering some things and changing and spell checking and things like that, so the document is squared away itself. The Plan Commission held their public hearing on April 18th and reviewed the document itself. You'll notice that they recommended draft 3 in their unanimous recommendation for approval to amend the village code. In your packet is what we have termed draft 4. Draft 4 represents the changes that were recommended or suggested by the commission at that meeting. So therein lies the difference in that. Quickly, I'll run through the items. The maps throughout the plan document have been upgraded and updated to reflect what's occurred in the community itself. That includes the land use map. We've included a future land use map that reflects areas outside the village, but yet we've included a land use designation for each of those. What that basically allows us to do is protect our boundaries from adjacent land uses that might be, in our feeling, inappropriate to be located adjacent to the village's corporate limits. The plan on page 6 calls or encourages the establishment of boundary agreements with our adjacent neighbors, being Buffalo Grove and Lincolnshire. The plan on page 13 reflects possibility of a multifamily multifamily development on the Cuneo Loyola property, and gives some guidelines for that possible development. Plan calls for a mixed-use development on the northeast corner and gives some additional changes or guidelines for that property. The plan also calls for the possibility of formulating a facade and landscape improvement for Polly Darby Shopping Center and what might take place there. The plan also calls for transit-oriented mixed-use development down on the metro station. Again, we own all but 2 of the properties down there, and it kind of gives some guidelines and ideas about possibly redeveloping that property in the future. Plan talks for some reuse strategies in terms of establishing possible nighttime entertainment options through some of the commercial areas. Again, creating a more robust type of evening entertainment that might occur in the future. The plan also includes a new section on sustainability, including goals and objectives. We also added some additional comments throughout the plan itself to take that into consideration. Finally, the plan calls for possible widening of Route 60 from Route 83 to Route 41, and also for monitoring of the Milwaukee Avenue area north and south of the intersection for possible expansion possibilities. With that, prior to the public hearing notice was published. We also placed the plan document on our website as of April 3rd, and it remains there today. To date, we've not received any comments with regards to the document itself. And therefore, the Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval to amend Appendix A of the Code of Ordinances to include the revised comprehensive plan, land use plan document as set forth in Draft 3. Again, I would note that you have Draft 4, which includes many of the changes that were suggested by the Commission. And therefore, if you feel it's appropriate, it's recommended that staff be directed to prepare the necessary ordinance granting approval to amend Appendix A of the Code of Ordinances to include the comprehensive land use plan as set forth in draft number 4, dated May of 2012, and also recognizing that the staff will be doing its final, I guess for lack of a better term, buff up and proofreading and formatting of the document as a part of this this new draft. So with that, again, Al Maiden is here today from Rolfe Campbell Associates, and he and I can answer any questions that you might have with regards to the document.
One question I had is if we're talking about widening 60 from 41 to 83, we would be talking about that after such time as the state maybe widens the rest of 83?
We didn't call for any timing with regards to that. It was more looking at it from the tollway outward to the corporate limits and actually through Mundelein.
Mm-hmm.
So from that standpoint, it's an expansion of an arterial route to the tollway. So we did not specify a time or look for a timeline in conjunction with something like that occurring.
Because I don't know if you've ever been west on 6083 at about 4:30 in the afternoon by the Irish Mill.
You want to do it?
Yeah. And same thing in the morning coming the other way. So,
right.
Any other comments, questions from the
great.
board? Otherwise, this looks very comprehensive and well updated.
I just want to thank Al and his team for all their efforts. It was very, very much appreciated what they did.
Well, and it also is a good update reflecting the significant changes we've had in the last few years and we'll apparently have in the next couple, so.
Looks good.
Okay. So do we need a motion to direct staff to do this?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
all right, then we're looking for a motion to direct staff to prepare the necessary ordinance granting approval to amend Appendix A of the Code of Ordinance to include a revised comprehensive land use plan as set forth in draft number 4 dated May 2012.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion is second. Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Swart?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Okay,
Thank-
motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, last item on the agenda, presentation of signed data collection and enforcement pilot program by Government Enhancement Services, GES.
This was, and John and I took a look at this as well as Mike Atkinson. This is a proposal we received, and quite frankly, it came up through some people that we dealt with, some people that are associated with our law firm, and it's an idea to take pictures and survey physical sites in the village, for example, signs, to take a look at violations. It's not I don't want anyone associated with red light cameras or something like that, but it would provide a database, for example, to take a look at things like street signs or regulatory signs, signs in buildings. I know Trustee Schultz has brought it up a couple times, and Trustee Hebda mentioned it tonight, having like temp signs in commercial buildings, things like that. It's not just signs, it's other physical things out there. It could tie in with trees, condition of different things. So to be a beta site, there's a nominal fee, $100. We don't know how valuable the information is, but we figured it's one of these mutually beneficial things. We can get some data, and it's $100 is what they indicated they charge us, a very nominal fee, and we get this data and then evaluate it in 12 months and see if we want to continue doing it, of course, at a market price at that point. So we wanted to get your direction on that.
What is the market?
Trustee Schultz?
What is the market price?
I think it's something like $7,000 a day for use of this vehicle to go out and I think our GIS coordinator figured in a day you could do quite a bit of the village that you'd want to monitor. You probably wouldn't drive every single street in the village, but the ones you'd define as high intense areas that you'd want to monitor, or not monitor, but look at their physical condition and then note things that say, mostly it would be public works what they want to do.
So for the $100 is a one-time deal?
Right, right.
And they do a little bit for us to see if we want to do more.
Well,
Right. Well, go ahead,
I
Jeff.
think what we talked to them about was doing the commercial area. I mean, that's where it's probably most effective. I mean, Public Works does a lot with locating their own signs and creating a very good database and everything associated with that. So we felt that, you know, this pilot program, for lack of a better term, could be applied to the commercial areas. We could use that to build our database, and then, as Mike said, reevaluate it in a year to see if it does have any use. I mean, I think there's some use, you know, in a snapshot. I think it would work well for us going forward. Is it something where we're going to come back to you and say, you know, I think $7,000 or $7,500 or whatever it is to re-up for this? It's really going to have to be something that's really valuable and really has pointed out that we have some problems that we've got to deal with immediately and the like. So I think.
Yeah, I can see us, you know, getting involved for $100 to do the commercial areas from the get-go, and then, yeah, maybe every 5 years do a redo. But for the $100, why not? If they can do the key commercial areas.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to waste. I think our thought was we don't want to waste their time doing residential streets and signs because we don't need that.
Well, where are we at currently, and Dave, you'd probably address this better, there is that sign compliance, right, coming due in about 3 or 4 years, that they all have to be a certain reflectivity and a few other things that I've heard about?
The good news is that the federal government revisited that, and they've given us extensions due to the cost that it would be to all the local municipalities. So they have relaxed the requirements, and I think that's consistent with what John is saying in terms of our needs. We know where our signs are. We've actually done an inventory before, took pictures of all those, so we've identified those. I like where John's headed in terms of $100. There's some commercial needs, some other needs. I think we're doing well in terms of public works.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess the request would be is if you're okay with us doing this, to direct the staff to proceed in working with GES, I believe, and we come back with a contract that we would have to approve, or ask you to approve, subject to the village attorney's review. So.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart? Trustee Schultz,
Aye.
trustee Schwartz,
Aye.
trustee Williams, trustee Hebda.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. We do not, in the adjournment of Committee of the Whole, we do not need to include the executive session because we did that as part of the
Correct.
previous one. Okay. All right. So is there a, if there's no other business on Committee of the Whole, is there a motion to adjourn?
So made.
Second? All right. Motion a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Markwart,
Aye.
trustee Schultz,
Aye.
trustee Schwartz,
Aye.
trustee Williams, trustee Hebda,
Aye.
trustee Cook.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned and we will not be doing anything else. So thank you and good night.